Buckeye Talk coming to you from the lead into this week's game at Tulsa. Nathan Baird from cleveland.com with Doug Lesmerises and Stephen Means. We just talked to Ryan Day on Tuesday here at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center after the first time we've talked to him since the Oregon game. He got a lot of questions about C.J. Stroud and kind of his impressions of where he is after 2 games and how he's been performing. And Ryan Day was very complimentary of his redshirt freshman first-time starting quarterback, said that he was asked about his accuracy, said he was making throws that he hasn't seen quarterbacks make in a long time, said that he has a lot of ability with his legs and that that's a positive for Ohio State. I found myself disagreeing with some of the things he was saying. I think C.J. Stroud played well, obviously put up a lot of points, or yards, I should say, found receivers when they were open. I still think there are some deficiencies that need to be cleaned up. Doug, just kind of what were your takeaways? How much did you find yourself agreeing or disagreeing with what Ryan Day was saying today?
I mean, I definitely disagreed with some of it. Ryan Day clearly wants to make sure that nobody's putting the blame on the second-year quarterback making his second career start. And I don't think anybody's doing that. The discussion is like, could he have played better? What could he have done differently? But again, it felt like he was saying that as a quarterback's coach. And he's as a head coach, he is not afraid to tell the defense right now that it needs to be better, right? But he sounds more like a quarterback's coach and an offensive coordinator to me when he talks about C.J. Stroud. And that could be strategic, right? He's a young guy in a really tough spot, coming off a loss, right? And so I get that, but it seemed like very purposeful that he wanted to be all in on C.J. Stroud, and so it's interesting to read. I mean, Ryan Day is strategic. The coaches are strategic. It's like they don't really actually say what they mean a lot of the time. They're trying to get messages across. And the message you wanted to cross to C.J. Stroud is, you're my guy. And so I was intrigued by that.
Yeah, and just to be fair, I think Ryan Day sometimes, when he answers those things, I think some of it is strategic messaging. He also may be comparing him to the average quarterback in the Big Ten. Like, compared to those guys, maybe he is accurate. Compared to those guys, maybe he does have more ability to use his legs. I still saw C.J. Stroud definitely sailing some throws early in this game that were crucial. It turned it up essentially to be turnovers, even if they weren't interceptions. I saw him, I thought, a little tentative, as I talked about on the podcast, like as a guy trying to throw on a run. I think that's probably a difficult thing to do early in your career, to have that confidence and ability to process those plays as they're happening. But I think it's still something that in this game ended up being the difference between whether or not they won or lost. Not that he lost them the game, but that he didn't necessarily push them across and win the game. But Steven, you, I think, are more in line with Ryan Day's thinking in your assessment of C.J. Stroud from the first game.
Yeah, I agree that he was fine at best. It's something to grow on. I will say I agree that he was indecisive whether to throw or run when he's outside of the pocket, which will probably get better as a young quarterback as the season goes along. What I mostly agree with is the idea that they put way too much on C.J. Stroud's plate. 54 passes is way too much. The defense didn't do its part. They never established the run game, one, because the offensive line didn't block right, but also the play calling. You called a lot of RPOs where it was clear because the line was kind of muggy, he was going to throw it. So they've got to take it. We know this is going to be some growing pains. So take some of this off of C.J. Stroud's plate and put it on the other guys, whether it's the offensive line. It's why the defense has to be better, because they scored 28 points, but they also gave up 35 points. If the defense only gave up 14 points, then we can complain more about the offense not doing its part. So that's maybe where I agree with Ryan Day the most is you're putting a lot on a young guy's plate that you don't have to put on his plate if some of these other aspects of the game are better.
We talked about how tough this schedule was going to be, partially because you were showing a first-time starting quarterback, a Big Ten team on the road, in Oregon to start the season. And now they get 2 back-to-back opponents in Tulsa and Akron, where they get to sort of maybe figure out some of these problems on the field. They get to pressure test things on the field. And I think some of this will be an opportunity for C.J. Stroud to be in, frankly, a lower-stakes environment for the entirety of the games that he's in, and kind of learn better to like make these decisions in real time. And we'll see how that helps him as they go farther into Big Ten season. Get the text, 614-350-3315, $3.99 a month after a 2-week free trial, and you get news and analysis from us 7 days a week from Buckeye Talk.